In Surah Al-Furqan, Ayah number 30, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَقَالَ الرَّسُولُ يَا رَبِّ إِنَّ قَوْمِي اتَّخَذُوا هَذَا الْقُرْآنَ مَهْجُورًا. And the messenger will say, O my Lord, indeed my people took this Quran as something worthy of being abandoned. My people have abandoned the Quran. Subhanallah. What does it mean that a person has abandoned the Quran will be our topic today. Now we have the Quran printed in the most beautiful manner. We have it distributed all over the world. We have it recited in the most eloquent manner by the best reciters. We have it written in calligraphy in many masajid all over the world. We have it memorized by so many people, and so on. So how come, with all this apparent beauty, where is the abandonment? Ibn al-Qayyim, rahimahullah, he said there are 5 various ways of abandonment of the Quran. And we are discussing this today so we can avoid being from the people who have abandoned the Quran. Subhanallah, we all know that this Quran is the manual of our life. This Quran is the same Quran that the Sahaba had and they conquered the world. So how come the Ummah is in the state that it is in right now? One of the main reasons is that there's a lot of abandonment in the Quran. So what are the 5 types of abandoning the Quran? First, to abandon listening to it. Now we have many people when they are in the car, when they are at home, instead of listening and enjoying the Quran, they put music. They put all kinds of music. Subhanallah. Is there anything more beautiful than listening to the Quran? So if you are from the people who hardly listen to the Quran, you have abandoned the Quran in one way at least. Second, to abandon acting upon it and ignoring its halal and haram, even if someone believes in it and recites it. So the second form of forsaking the Quran and abandoning it is by not applying its halal and haram. A person who is earning haram income is considered abandoning the Quran because he heard in the Quran many times to stay away from haram income, to stay away from riba. A person who is constantly gets angry, he is one of the people who abandoned the Quran because in the Quran it praises the people who are controlling their anger in many places. A person who constantly backbite. I'm not talking about somebody who gets angry once in a while. We all get angry. But I'm saying a person that is constantly angry, constantly backbiting. He is not applying what he learned from the Quran. And that is a form of abandoning the Quran. Subhanallah, if reading the Quran and applying its teaching was a part of every Muslim's life, then you would see far fewer Muslims lying and cheating and raping and abusing and taking bribes and backbiting and gossiping and discriminating against others. So one of the forms of abandoning the Quran is not applying its halal and haram. Third form of abandonment is to abandon judging by it and resorting to it as a judge when there are any kinds of dispute. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us in Surah Al-Nisa, ayah number 65, فَلَا وَرَبِّكَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ حَتَّى يُحَكِّمُوكَ فِي مَا شَجَرَ بَيْنَهُمْ. Allah is swearing by Himself and is saying they are not believers I am not a believer. You are not a believer unless you make the Quran and the Sunnah the judge in any dispute you have. A woman has a dispute with her husband. Make the Quran and the Sunnah the judge. A partner has a dispute with his business partner. Make the Quran and the Sunnah your judge. A father has a dispute with his son, with his daughter. Make the Quran and the Sunnah as your judge. If we do not make the Quran and the Sunnah as our judge, then we are from the people who are abandoning the Quran. We are reading it and listening to it, but we are not making it as a judge for any dispute that we have among ourselves. And this is one of the biggest problems that we are facing in this ummah. You see a person that is very practicing, a sister that is very practicing, and when it comes to a divorce or any problem with her husband, she wants to adhere to local laws and ignore all the Islamic laws, even though the husband is willing to adhere to any Islamic law. And it also happens with the husband. A husband that is not applying the Sharia law when it comes to disputes between him and his wife. He does not give her rights. So when we put the Quran as our judge, then we are not from the people who are abandoning the Quran. The fourth form of abandonment is to abandon pondering over it and understanding it and seeking the explanation of it. This is a very common abandonment. Many of us read the Quran just for the barakah, to get with every letter 10 hasana, which is good. But at the same time, we should know that when we come across any verse in the Quran that, for example, that begins with Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu. I am reading the Quran and I heard Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu, oh who you believe. I should become all ears and see what does Allah want from me. This is called pondering upon the Quran. The verses of the Quran are not simply to be written and hung in our cars or framed to adorn the walls of the house. No, these are meant to be كِتَابٌ أَنزَلْنَاهُ إِلَيْكَ مُبَارَكٌ لِيَدَّبَّرُوا آيَاتِهِ. This barakah that it's in the Quran, you will feel it in your life when you start pondering upon every single ayah in the Quran. So my brother, read the Quran with tafsir. Now, subhanallah, we have access to any tafsir, to any language on our fingertips. Read the Quran and under it, read the translation, the explanation, why this ayah was revealed. SubhanAllah, even if it takes you one year to finish one reading, but at least you read it with understanding. And the fifth form of abandonment is to abandon using it as a cure in all types of diseases. This is another abandonment. Allah said, وَنُنَزِّلُ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ مَا هُوَ شِفَاءٌ. Allah told us that in the Quran there is a cure. So that does not mean we don't go to the doctors and we do not take medicine, but with that we also read the Quran in a form that I'm reading it, Ya Allah, because you told us that this Quran is a cure. Surah Al-Fatiha, Ayat Al-Kursi, the last 3 ayahs in the Quran, the last 2 ayahs of Surah Al-Baqarah, there's a lot of cure in the Quran, a lot of shifa. So we read them with the intention that, Ya Allah, I'm reading this Quran and I'm seeking from you its blessings and its shifa. So this one also has been abandoned. We seek the doctors and we seek the medicine before we seek Allah's help. We have to go to the doctor and we have to take the medicine, but also Allah told us that this Quran has a shifa in it. We should, as believers, believe that there is a shifa in it and there will be a shifa in it if we approach it in that manner. So my brothers and sisters, we have to take this matter very seriously. We do not want to know, we do not want to be among the people who has abandoned the Quran. And these are 5 ways that we are considered, if we are applying them, that we are from the people who has abandoned the Quran. Yani I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make the Quran the spring of our hearts. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make the Quran the spring of our children's hearts. I ask Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala to make us read the Quran, understand the Quran, and live by the Quran. آمين يا رب العالمين. سبحانك اللهم بحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. I love you all for the sake of Allah.